Hey there, welcome back. The Augusta African American Historical Society is working to help the community learn more about outstanding Black Augustans who have made a major impact. Dr. Mallory Melender and Vice President Dr. John Hayes are here to share more. Guys, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you for
us.
having us, yes.
No problem. So, Historical Society, 24 years.
Yes.
So, kind of tell me a little bit about it.
Well, this was a project of former Mayor Edward McIntyre. Augusta has an unusually rich Black history, which is important for the entire community to know. But his concern was particularly for young people to know what we have done. And that has become particularly important to me in that, while he started this organization 24 years ago, I commonly run into young people, high schoolers in particular, who don't know who he was. And the people that we are trying to recognize first are the older contributors to our society. I mean, like the most recent honoree, John Wesley Gilbert. John Wesley Gilbert made his contributions in the 1800s and early 1900s. So we're going back that far.
Yes, sir.
And coming up to date with contributors. And they have been, I mean, there's just a range of people. There are people certainly that everybody knows, like A.R. Johnson.
Right.
He was the first licensed Black teacher in the state of Georgia. Or Judson Lyons, who was Georgia's first Black lawyer, had his name on the dollar bill. But you have other people like Mac Gibson. Mac Gibson was commissioned by the National Aeronautical Space Agency to research the pyramids on Mars. You have people like Channing Tobias, who was a charter delegate to the United Nations, born here in Augusta, went to Payne College. You have John Hope, who was a colleague of his. John Hope was the most outstanding Black educator next to Booker T. Washington. But Booker T. Washington, of course, was dealing with vocational education, while John Hope was dealing with higher education, colleges, universities. John Hope was the first Black president of Morehouse in 1906 and held that position for 25 years. In 1931, he became the first Black president of Atlanta University, which was the only school in the South that was strictly for graduate work for Black people. You have people like John Wesley Gilbert, the first Black archaeologist, person who did diggings in the family plot of Aristotle in ancient Greece. Again, this is in the 1890s. You have a person like William Carpenter. William Carpenter was a local Black businessman who did so well that he could loan money to the city of Augusta. He had something like 425 acres of land. Or you have people like Amanda Americus Dixon, who was the richest Black woman, some sources say in the Southeast, some say in America. She, in this state, had more than 14,000 acres of land, and an equal amount in Texas. But there are just loads of people like that with stories that our people need to know about. Everybody needs to know about.
Yes, sir. And Dr. John, these stories that folks really need to know about, you guys are trying to get monuments here. You have several already. Kind of touch a little bit on that for me.
Yeah, so since our founding in 2000, the Society has created 26 monuments. These line Laney Walker. So anyone can go at any time and just walk up and down Laney Walker. They are on brick pillars with a granite top. And there's, each one tells you about a significant person. So there are 26 so far. The goal ultimately for our society is 50.
And how did you guys go about choosing the different people who you want to have these monuments dedicated to?
Yes, I mean, that's a basic thing in history, is deciding sort of levels of significance. Mm-hmm. And so now as we, have gone just past the halfway point and are looking towards, okay, 50 is actually possibly in sight within the next couple decade or so, mm-hmm. there has to be some selectivity about it.
Right.
And who just we have to honor, and who, they're important, but they're not necessarily going to be on a monument.
So how does that process work?
It's an internal committee. Mm-hmm. So there's in really for the list going forward, the whole society will simply be deciding we've got to prioritize these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
John is, Dr. Hayes is being modest. He's on a research committee of scholars who research these people and make recommendations to the larger body who finally approve them.
Being modest, huh?
Yes.
So what do you guys hope the next generation will take away from these monuments as well as these lectures that you guys have? What do you hope the next generation will learn?
Well, the main thing is that they cannot just learn about what these people have done. They can realize what they are capable of doing. They can aspire to have their own monument on Laney Walker based on their achievements. That's what I hope they will take from it. It is education for the sake of education, but it's education with the hope that people will realize that their possibilities far exceed what they commonly conceive of, and that if these people have done what they have done with so little, now that we have AI and all of the things that we have that bring us information and the ability to achieve, I mean, the sky really is the limit.
Yeah, and if I can add to that a little bit,
Sure.
This is public history. So you don't have to go into a museum, you don't have to go into a library, you're not in a classroom. It's public history. It's just out there on the street. Like anyone can go and see it. So it's very available, very accessible. At each of the unveilings or dedications of the monuments that we do, there's a big festivity to it. And then I would also add, it's amazing how much people don't realize, are not curious or don't realize the history that's happened right in their own hometown.
Absolutely.
So I grew up in Atlanta. I thought nothing really has happened here. Obviously, it's not true, but people tend to think that about what's close and familiar to them. As Dr. Millender described earlier, so much has happened here. So many people have come out of here. So many people have lived here and done significant things. These are a way of putting that out there for the public.
And I did not know that when I came here about 6 years ago. It's so much Black history here because I did not know that.
Tons.
I thought Augusta was just Augusta National.
Augusta
Don't get mad at me.
An extraordinary Black history.
Absolutely.
It really does.
So y'all have this 24-24 campaign. Kind of touch a little bit on that for me.
Well, we are asking people to give $24 or $240 or $2,400. If they wish, they can give $24,000. But that's what we are doing.
Or 2.4 million?
Oh, 2.4 million?
We'll take it.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Okay.
And the money largely goes simply to the monuments. So literally, people that donate will see the fruits of their donations appearing out in public.
And does it cost a lot for these monuments? Do y'all know?
Yes.
More than you would think.
Yes.
For something that will stand the test of time and
Yeah.
it looks good, yeah, more than you would think. Obviously, all costs, prices are higher now, but more than you would think.
And because we go way back in terms of history, a lot of these people do not have family members in the Augusta area or any known family members that we know of. So we have to come up with the money to erect these monuments. And that's where the public comes in. We have to appeal to people. It's not something where we can go down to the city and ask the city for money and they give us X number of dollars. We're not in anybody's budget. Well, we hope that we will
Yeah.
be in people's budget, but nothing in terms of the government.
Okay, one final question for both of y'all. What's your favorite monument so far?
Mine has to be Channing Tobias. Channing Tobias was my pastor when I was a child. When I joined the church, it was in New York City. And he was chairman of the board for the NAACP, that is nationwide NAACP. He was leading the NAACP during Brown versus Education, during the Montgomery boycott, during the Little Rock Nine, all of those big things he was leading. In fact, he brought Emmett Till's mother to our church for a rally following his death.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that he was from Augusta. I had no idea that I would ever be in Augusta.
I feel the same way too.
I didn't know. I don't know that I knew that he went to Payne College or that I would go. But my connection with him and that we used to talk sometime makes him my favorite honoree.
Dr. John?
Yeah, for me it'd be Mrs. Carrie Mays. It's one of the newer monuments that we've dedicated, and that would, my own research led me to learn a lot more about her. So I've been researching the struggle for civil rights in the 1960s and 70s in Augusta. She was a black mortician. Mays Mortuary, Mays Funeral Home is still here. It's over 100 years old. And when she was elected in 1970, October 1970, no black woman across the entire South had been elected to a higher municipal position. She was the first, not just first black woman, first woman elected to the city council. She was unusually courageous and outspoken, and a huge asset in realizing civil rights gains for Augusta.
And you guys say just travel down Laney Walker Boulevard and you can see the monuments.
They're all there.
You can. Now, they are concentrated around Wallace Branch Library and Tabernacle, but they extend all the way from, let's say, R.A. Boulevard, the railroad tracks there,
Yes,
down to 11th Street. Some of them are kind of scattered. We have not filled in the spaces in between, but there's a concentration of them around A.R. Johnson back to 12th Street and Tabernacle.
Sounds good to me. I do want to give everyone that address again. If you do want to donate, it's P.O. Box 456. That's here in Augusta, and the zip code is 30901. All right, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks
We
for having us.
appreciate it.
We had a great talk. I
Good.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.